Yeah, absolutely. Well, that goes back to the flat tax. A flat tax, the theory of a flat tax is it's 11% paid by and that's it. It's 11%. It would cover actually, the numbers that I've read, it would cover, it's between 11 and 12% would cover every government expenditure as it sits today. The problem are the loopholes. I mean, this is what people don't understand. It's not just the 40% or whatever percent that aren't paying, which is big. It's also the upper tier that have paid to have their particular case lobbied, which gives them the ability to get out of paying taxes. It's a completely, the system is so convoluted and complicated. So there's your answer. Simplify it. Go back to a flat tax. It's 11% straight across the board. You take it from both the employer and the employee. So it ends up coming out to about 22, but it's a flat. Everybody pays it. Everybody. It's just the way it is. And people who make more will pay a larger dollar amount. But if you're working 80 hours a week, I don't know that. Who am I to tell you you've made too much? It's a completely unequitable system the way it sits right now. Progressive income tax, or any tax that's progressive, is as criminal as far as I'm concerned as it gets. Because I'm assuming that you've made too much money. How can I make that assessment? What if you have 4 jobs? I mean, it doesn't make so. I'm not a tax guy, in case you couldn't tell. I would never be signatory to the union. That was actually the primary reason we ended up filing. Give you a quick story. Basically, I had gone through, with major corporations. I'd worked my way all the way up through until eventually I was a vice president in one, and they were always union. And we were union here in this state, and we always were able to make it work, and the idea behind it sounded great, where they would handle all the benefits, they would handle the guys, and they would provide me with labor. See, and that was key. That I wouldn't have to go out and spend my time finding guys. I was a ceiling contractor. It's a pretty specialized trade. Finding ceiling guys is pretty difficult. I don't have the money and jobs to train. Made some sense. So we did it. And it wasn't a week. And I would call up the union, I don't have anybody for you. And I had a contract that stipulated a certain dollar amount that I was going to be my total cost an hour. I couldn't find anybody to work for that. Now, we have a right to work state, which means that I was not able to go out and hire people with the condition that they join a union or a guild. I couldn't even bring it up. So we had to go find people. They came on. They were non-union. The problem was I was paying them about, it depended on the man, between $4 and $6 an hour more than my total package was supposed to be, which is fine. We made our adjustments in our bidding and we were doing fine. About 3.5 years later, the union came back and said, you have non-union men working for you. I said, absolutely, I have non-union men. We've had how many conversations about you couldn't get them. They said, oh, you have to pay us the benefits on all of them. I said, I have the what? And they said, yeah, you owe us the benefits. I said, they're not in the union. They said, it doesn't matter. I said, excuse me? And they came back to me with a very hefty bill. And it was the beginning of the end. It was such a large bill, and it was packed on with interest and penalties. And then you end up signing on to 7 different contracts when you sign a 6-page document. So in hindsight, that would have absolutely been what I would have changed, because I have every right, as we all do, to negotiate a fair deal with my guys, and if they agree to it, then it's equitable. So it's a man that understands. He's kind of.
I know somebody else that went through the same thing.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but the truth is, going back to my bankruptcy. When you think about getting into this process, knowing you're coming off of bankruptcy, I mean. I'm not naive. I mean, I understand how that can appear. Now, for me, it was actually, while I would change the end result if I could, I wouldn't change any of it, to be honest with you. I can now deal with things that many of us are facing. today. I mean, there's a great amount of fear in our culture right now. As I go and I knock on all the doors, what's coming out is fear and anger are the overriding emotions right now. And fear of, well, you're going to cut off this program and that program, and I'm going to... The truth is, I've been there. I mean, I didn't just lay down and die. I went right into a great job and didn't take a dime from the government. There was a conversation I had with my lender on my house. Now, we had 3 properties too. They halved overnight. I mean, everything that could go wrong was going wrong, and you're standing there and you're profitable. Your jobs are profitable, and you're looking around like, I can't believe what we had to work on Centerpoint condominiums. You know, the lender on that owed us $100,000. He unfortunately took his life. There was no money there. You look at this comedy of horrors, and now I can look at people and say, I understand the fear that you're going through right now, and I'm here to tell you, you're going to be just fine. We're going to have to make adjustments. We're going to have to make changes. I had to make adjustments in my own life. My lender actually was trying to get me to take, and I was not running for office at this time, my lender was trying to get me to take a government program funded by the taxpayers to save my home. And I had to sit with my wife. As your whole world's falling apart, everything you worked for over a decade, I had to look at my family. The one thing we could hold on to was our home under this program. And I had to look at my wife and I had to say, you know, we can do this, but is it right? It's not other people's job to pay for our home, regardless of how that feels for us. And so we turned it down. And we adjusted, and we went and found a wonderful rental, and we did these things. You know, we went and bought a minivan at auction, and we did these things and made the adjustments that needed to be made, and we're doing fantastic today. When I ran, I was in a great job. When I decided to run, I had to make the decision to free up my time. I was working for a major corporation. They're not going to give me, you know, the hours that I need to run for office. So I had to take another 60% pay cut just to run. It was a conversation, again, I had to have with my family that I have experience that's pretty unique. You know, at a relatively young age, I've worked for major corporations. I've been a vice president in an $80 million a year corporation. I've owned my own business. I've gone through the gamut, the whole spectrum. And I get it on so many levels. That's unique. And I felt that while it would have been better for me and my family to stay in that job, for us personally, would that have been right not to use those experiences to see things that other people can't see? And so we made the decision to go ahead and make those adjustments again in our lives, because it was, you know, people died to give us the freedoms that we have today. Taking a pay cut to me is really a small price to pay, to use the experiences, the painful experiences that I've gone through, but to say to everybody, here we go, it's okay, jump on board, and we're going to be just fine. It's going to be scary, but you know, when our community rises up next to us, not the government, I mean, that's not their role. They can't sympathize with us or empathize with us from 3,000 miles away. It's our community that needs to rise up. And that's the role of a legislator, again, that we need to get out to our community. Step up next to your neighbor. So that's